Thank you for joining me for this edition of Weather Eastern. This is meteorologist Mark Molnar. As always, thanks for joining me here. We're going to take a look at severe weather across the south. That's going to be the big story over the next couple days here, especially Friday into Saturday. We'll see just what areas are going to be under the gun for damaging wind, large hail, tornadoes, everything. We're also going to take a look at winter prospects. I do have some bad news for those of you that are really into snow, at least for the next week or so. And then after that, things kind of get sketchy the week before Christmas. So we'll get right into it. Let's get into all the details here. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell button so you're alerted when I come out with one of these videos. Smash the like button if you like it. Question or comment down below. I do love to read your questions or comments. And as always, there's timestamps in the description down below. Let's get right into it. All right, taking a look at the impact scale for severe weather outbreak. Yep, we're not doing winter. Winter is taking a holiday here. This is Friday, especially later in the day, December 10th, and Saturday, December 11th. You see there in the red zone, that is the mid-Mississippi River Valley and the Ohio River Valley. We're looking at a big risk here of tornadic thunderstorms, especially towards sunset. Heading into the evening and the overnight hours. So we're going to have some nocturnal thunderstorms here, damaging wind, large hail, and this spreads east throughout the night into Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon. We'll have a resurgence along the East Coast. You see up towards New Jersey, New York City, you could see some cells that bring down some damaging winds later in the day on Saturday. We have thunderstorms all the way up into parts of New York State and Michigan as well. Let's take a look at the particulars on the severe weather. All right, we're going to take a look at the category for severe weather here by the Storm Prediction Center. Take a look at the enhanced risk here. This is you don't see this too often, especially this time of year, but places like Nashville, just east of Little Rock, these areas are going to see the greatest risk of severe thunderstorms, especially later in the day, as I said, on Friday night into Saturday morning, the darkest hours of the day. So tornadoes are really, really difficult to see at night. Not a good scenario. Let's take a look at the tornado risk. Anytime you get to 10% like here, right in this region, along the Mississippi and Ohio rivers here, this is not a very good sign, especially for when we're going after sunset. So heed the tornado watches and warnings that do go into effect. This is definitely going to be quite an outbreak, and I'll go over all the model data for you. Hail is a little bit less of a threat here. Take a look at that. Around a 5%. Still, it's pretty good, but it's not like the big thing here. And damaging straight line wind is a big story as well. Once this conglomerates into a solid squall line, later Friday night after the supercells, we will see a risk of strong damaging wind out of these storms. All right, we're taking a look at the 3-kilometer NAM model here, mesoscale model. We can really start to look at these since the severe weather event is so close. And we put this into motion. This is very late on Friday evening. So you start to see some of the stronger thunderstorms firing. A lot of these are going to be nocturnal thunderstorms. And you already start to see some of them firing as far north here as Michigan, Indiana, and then stretching into the deep south here. We're starting to have a big line, strong line forming. And we head on into the real early morning hours of Saturday. And according to the NAM, things really get cranking here across Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, and Indiana, and all the way up to Buffalo, New York here. Some stronger returns with a 981 millibar low. This is quite an intense low-pressure system, and we put this into motion. You can see that line. It's kind of a broken line at this point, but any stronger cell could bring some of these stronger winds to the surface, so we'll want to watch for that here. If we take a look, we can kind of zoom in a little bit on the Ohio Valley here for, let's put this into motion, and later Friday, still nothing, but we start to get into late evening, early nightfall here, and that's where we start to have some stronger thunderstorms starting to develop here. So you see these individual cells, these are what could contain some tornadoes. So put that into motion. These are nocturnal thunderstorms, and then we get into sunrise. So we're really starting to have solidification into a strong squall line by this point on Saturday. And you see it becomes a little bit more broken as the day wears on here. So tornado threat really strong, especially during the hours you don't want to see it, which is the nightfall. And here we go. We'll take a look at the Cape, the convective available potential energy here. So we put this into motion. Let's see how much energy. This is like food for thunderstorms. Look at this. We head into the night. We're stretching into... Look at this. We do have a good layer of cape developing here late Friday into early Saturday. This is anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 cape, which is fairly decent for this time of year. And then we stretch into the early Saturday. It kind of tapers off. So if you look at your best window of opportunity, this is later Friday. So thunderstorms will really fire here once we get a trigger, the cold front moving in from the west. And so the real bad time here is going to be from the especially the late afternoon, evening into nightfall. And once we get into nightfall here, things are going to get pretty dangerous with some of these tornadoes developing here across the Ohio Valley and Mississippi Valley. And here we go. We'll take a look at the Euro as well. We put this into motion for Friday. There's the low passing to the north. Let me just back up a second. Over eastern Iowa, lots of strong thunderstorms developing to the east of that. You see these really start to get organized. Later Friday evening, individual cells really starting to take effect, and any one of these could blossom into tornadic capabilities. And look at that throughout the night, Friday night into early Saturday morning. This is going to be ongoing. So definitely, if you have like a NOAA weather radio with an alert on it, you may be waking up to some of these producing tornadoes. This is not a very good time. And this then solidifies into a squall line, very similar to what the NAM 3 kilometer was showing for your Saturday. And that progresses to the east and slowly weakens. But still, it will be packing a punch. Some of these stronger cells could still bring some of those stronger winds to the ground. Taking a look at another one of our mesoscale products here, HRWFV3. Take a look at this. We put this into motion. HRW, here we go. Look at this. We spread on into Friday. And most of the day, just like the Euro and the NAM, not too bad. But then we start to have some development here. This is right after sunset. Start to have some stronger cells fire across Missouri and into Arkansas. And look at that. Look how they blossom here. This is a signature from southwest to northeast. This is where the direction a lot of tornadoes move. And this is showing a very strong line of convection capable. Look at this. Some of these look like individual supercell potential here. And that spreads east throughout the night into western Kentucky, Tennessee. Another one firing here into eastern Arkansas and up in the Ohio Valley. Some strong thunderstorms with damaging wind potentially this far north. So that's pretty remarkable. And look at that. Saturday morning, we form into a solid squall line. As far north there, let me back up. As far north as western Pennsylvania, all the way down to Louisiana here. So that is pretty remarkable here. We'll be dealing with an ongoing severe weather situation. And look at this, still holding on to convection. Some of these could produce damaging wind gusts. All right, so taking a look at the northeast, let's see what this storm holds for us for Friday into the weekend. What's the severe weather situation here in the northeast? So we're taking a look at the Euro here. We have a strong line of convection heading into western Pennsylvania, eastern Ohio, Kentucky here. This is on the morning hours of Saturday here. So we spread this late morning, and we have some individual cells. Nothing too terrible here. Any one of these cells, though, could tap into some stronger winds. So I'm not expecting a widespread outbreak, but it kind of gets a little bit more organized here after sunset and into the late evening hours as we approach the overnight. So we could be having some situations here in New Jersey, parts of the mid-Atlantic, where we could be dealing with some strong thunderstorms in the area, some that could produce damaging wind, and that slices off the coast. Let's take a look. If we look at let's take a look at the NAM 3 kilometer here. Putting this into motion. Here we go. Oh, look at that. You can see that snow feature A burst of snow potentially here on Friday morning across the North Country, picking up maybe potentially an inch, but that'll melt off pretty quickly as that warm front pushes in. And warm front it will be. We'll have temperatures soaring into the 60s here, but there you can see it a bit better here on the NAM 3 kilometer. Take a look at this strong thunderstorm line here. So some of these stronger cells could produce damaging wind, large hail, damaging wind being the main threat. And this spreads east. This is heading into the afternoon. It does kind of break apart for the most part, but any stronger cell could potentially refire here just after sunset in the mid-Atlantic, New York City, Atlantic City. We'll have to watch here. It's not going to be a widespread outbreak, but we'll watch it here at Media Marks, Weather Northeastern and Weather Eastern. All right, here's that bad news. This is why I've saved winter for last in the intermediate part of the video here. We're going to go through the GFS here and show you that ridge next week. Take a look at that. That's by December 14th next week. Major ridge. This is going to be 10 to 20 degrees above average. This is not the pattern you want to see for any snowstorms, let alone East Coast snowstorms. You can see the NAO index is definitely going positive at this point. Really positive. And big trough out west. Not good for East Coast snowstorms. Look at that. We're really building the ridge. December 16th, December 17th. We try to erode it a little bit, but it just comes right back. Now, this is interesting. The GFS is kind of hinting at something by December 22nd. Will this materialize? Will we get some sort of system to bring us any kind of snow? Well, that's December 23rd, December 24th. So we could have some cold air around. That's interesting to note. Let's take a look at the Euro. See if we get any sort of similarity here. This will take us through the middle of next week at least. There it is. Big ridge here across the east, so there's agreement. Big trough out west. Look at that. And the Euro is pretty well keeping the ridge entrenched there. And we'll take a look at the Canadian lastly here. Put that into motion. Look at that. Look at that big trough out west here. Big ridge up in the Gulf of Alaska. Big ridge here in the east. This is really bad for East Coast snowstorms. And look at that. December 19th. We're continuing ridging back east. All right, let's take a look at snowfall. It's something that's going to be very void across the east. But let's take a look at the GFS. You see across the Rocky Mountains spreading into the plains and into the upper Midwest. This is where we're going to see anywhere from 6, 8, maybe isolated areas, 10 inches here into the weekend across the upper Midwest, stretching into eastern Canada. Nothing across the east, very little to speak of here. Tremendous snow out west with all of those parade of systems heading off the Pacific. And take a look at this. We spread it east next week, completely void of snow. And then the following week, we get into Christmas week. And we have some, wow, look at that. Too early to get into that, what that could be here across the south, but that would be pretty interesting if this does verify on the GFS. Let's see what the Europeans showing for snow. Stretching further out, and there you have it. Nothing pretty much across the east except the upper Midwest here and the Rocky Mountains and out west. And if we get into, well, let's take a look at the Canadian. And we put that into motion. There it is. Similar pattern into the weekend. Stretch of 6 to 8 inches of snow. Rocky Mountains west. And look at that. Across the east. Only for like lake effect areas. But pretty much we're mostly void of snow. Continuing. All right. The upper air pattern. This is starting for your new week. So this does not include Friday or the weekend. This is starting off with Monday. They're pretty much Thursday of next week. A big ridge developing across the east and a trough kicking in out west. This will keep temperatures well above average, anywhere from 10 to as much as 20 degrees above your average highs, especially east of the Rocky Mountains, the Mississippi Valley, Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and the East Coast. And for your Friday, TGIF across the Northeast. Finally, we're getting to the end of the week here. We have a warm front pushing across the region, warming temperatures into the upper 40s and lower 50s in many areas. 50 in Buffalo, State College. Maybe a late day shower in places like Erie, Toronto, and Pittsburgh. But for the most part, most of the daylight hours, you'll stay dry. In the North Country, we do have that stalled out frontal boundary. And to the north of it, we'll have some overrunning moisture, maybe in the form of snow, mixed with some rain showers. Accumulations will generally be light to an inch or less, mainly in the higher elevations. So really breaking out some sunshine across the Big Apple, New York City at 50 and 55 in Atlantic City. All right, taking a look at the southeast, Friday is going to probably be your worst day across the Ohio and Mississippi River valleys here, especially the mid-Mississippi and upper Mississippi River valleys here. So if you take a look, the enhanced, and I even put moderate range on the map here in the red zone and the orange zones. Take a look at that. That stretches from eastern Texas, northern Louisiana, up into Arkansas, western Tennessee, western and northwestern Mississippi, as far north as Illinois and Indiana here. So we'll be looking at damaging wind, large hail. The big story, though, is going to be those thunderstorms that do rotate. So rotating tornadic thunderstorms. This is a big probability here. We're looking at a warm front draped across the area, and then northwest here off the map, there is a cold front, a very strong cold front. So we got two dynamics at work here. And there's always a saying, never trust a warm front. This is where you can get high values of rotation in the atmosphere. And any cell that taps into this veering of winds with height, you start to get the rotation of these thunderstorms. So in this area, that's what I'm really concerned about, especially if you live in any of the yellow, orange, and especially the red areas. Definitely heed those watches and warnings. And some of these will be starting to really blossom after sunset Friday and Saturday across the Northeast. This is where things get a bit stormy. We got a big warm front pushing through. We do have the threat. There it is. Look at that. Yellow. That is a slight risk of severe thunderstorms. Places like southern Rhode Island, southern Connecticut, Long Island, all of Long Island, New York City is included, Newark, New Jersey, Atlantic City, over to Philadelphia, just east of Harrisburg, and Washington, D.C. Look at that, and most of all of Delaware as well. Damaging wind, large hail, the main threat. This will be a threat that's mainly from the mid-afternoon through early evening hours. So we're talking from like 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. here, maybe a later straggler after 8, but most of this will be out by then. But we will have the potential strong damaging wind gust at this point will be the main threat, higher than 60 miles an hour. Now you notice most areas in the darker green, that is a 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of rain. I don't think we'll have any major flooding problems, maybe some minor issues, but for the most part, things will be pretty progressive at this point. And then look at that further west. Those are early highs, 62 in Erie, 65 in Buffalo, because later in the day, whatever moisture is left over and whatever lake effect tries to kick in will be rain mixing with and changing over to snow. So there you have it. This is a busy day across the Northeast, and look at these temperatures. 65 in Binghamton, 66 in Scranton and New York City, 72 in Atlantic City, and 75 in Washington, D.C., 50s all the way up into northern New England. Here we go for Saturday across the Southeast. We have a very large area of severe weather, a little bit less potent than Friday night. But Saturday morning, things will still be cranking across Nashville, Birmingham, and New Orleans, continuing east throughout the day to Atlanta, Panama City, Charleston, Raleigh, and Norfolk eventually, late evening. So damaging, it will transition from a tornado threat overnight Friday into the wee early morning hours of Saturday into more of a damaging wind, straight line wind, hail, squall line type threat as we head towards Birmingham, Atlanta, Panama City, Charleston, Raleigh, and Norfolk throughout the day. So your temperatures will be crashing in Nashville and Houston. Those are your early highs as this cold front spreads to the east. So we're looking at still a very active day for Saturday across the area. Even though we're not looking at the enhanced to moderate risk, you're still going to want to keep an eye to the sky. And Sunday across the Northeast, a beautiful crystal clear blue skies, still above average for this time of year. 43 in Albany and Binghamton, and 41 in Syracuse, 48 in New York City and Harrisburg. So look at that. Get out there and enjoy your Sunday after a very wet, windy, and stormy Saturday. All right, take a look at your Sunday across the Northeast, or Southeast for that matter. This is a lot clearer. We have the front scour out all that humidity and instability out of the air. We will only have a stray shower or thunderstorm in Florida, even getting out of the way in Tampa, Miami, and most of the southern counties of Florida will have that potential, but we're not looking at anything severe, and that front will be on the move to the south and to the east, so it should clear most of Florida by late in the day on Sunday. And Monday across the northeast, we are on the rise again. On the backside of high pressure as it crests off the coastline into the Atlantic Ocean, we'll get some southwesterly winds developing, and look at that, unseasonably warm air, 52 in it, Albany as well as New York City and Boston. So 55 in Harrisburg and 60 in D.C., 49, almost 50 in Binghamton and State College, and in the 50s in the Lake Ontario and Lake Erie Plains here. So just really warm for this time of year, just no snow to be had. And your southeast for your Monday. Clearing trend continues, that stationary front stalling across the southern Gulf of Mexico, only giving South Florida a stray shower or thunderstorm, but nothing severe, nothing too bad. Generally a tenth of an inch or less, but we'll be warming back into the 60s, places like Nashville, Birmingham, Atlanta, and Charleston, and Raleigh. So we'll start this warming trend again, and will we have that severe weather pattern kicking in later in the week like we saw Friday and the weekend? We'll have to wait and see here, but we're not in a very good pattern here because this sets us up for more severe weather outbreaks. Extended outlook for my hometown viewers, Binghamton to Scranton's upper Susquehanna region of upstate New York into northeast Pennsylvania. Look at this. Friday, very uneventful day, mostly cloudy, 45. We'll have increasing clouds throughout the day. And look at that. For your Saturday, very warm. The warm front pushes in. Temperatures rocket up to the mid-60s. We will have rain, likely wind developing as well. It will just not feel like Christmas time, to say for that most part there. Into Sunday, the cold front comes crashing through, but it's really not much of a cold front. Yeah, we will be tumbling in temperatures, but for the most part, look at these. These are well above your average highs. And for those people who really want snow for the Christmas season, it's just not happening. So at least in the short term here, we are stuck with this warmer pattern. It will have featuring colder overnight lows, but really, those aren't that really cold for this time of year. It could be a lot colder. As always, I want to thank you for joining me for this edition of Weather Eastern. As always, don't forget to like me on Facebook, a Media Mark, also Weather Northeastern, and for hurricane season, Hurricane Northeastern. Go ahead and like that in advance so you're ready for next year when hurricane season comes along. Also, it's Twitter at Weather Eastern. That's just at Weather Eastern. Don't forget to also MediaMark.com and WeatherNortheastern.com.